Well, my father used to hit me. Well, my mom used to lock me in a closet. Well, I actually have you all beat because my mom used to send me to bed hungry. But it did make me a better person, but I definitely deserved it. But of course, she only did it because she cared. But most importantly, I'm stronger because of it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about adultism and child abuse. I remember sitting there listening to my coworkers who were mostly in their 40s, 50s, and 60s trauma bond about the abuse they went through as children. They said that the abuse made them better people now, and that things were just different back then. And yeah, things were different, but that doesn't mean that they were okay. It also made me think about my own upbringing and how I too was hit as a child. The most awkward part of all of this was when one of the coworkers said that she wasn't abused as a child, as if she was the odd one out. However, her saying this did make the other coworkers rethink their abuse and know that it wasn't normal. And this wasn't the only incident where an older colleague talked to me about child abuse. In high school, I had a band teacher that told me he slapped his daughter in the face because you know how kids can be, as if I wasn't a kid myself. I grew up in a world where a dad shooting his daughter's laptop went viral because it was funny.
This video of Tommy Jordan shooting his daughter's laptop.
This right here is my 45.
Where parents force their kids to wear signs of their misdeeds at local intersections as a form of punishment. Where family vloggers mistreat their children in order to get content.
What the f***? I didn't do that! You tell me what you did! I swear to God I didn't do that!
Thankfully, on the other side of the internet, we have people talking about child abuse and child rights more and more. And actually, we now have a term for this kind of parental abuse, and that is adultism. And there's actually a really good article about adultism on everydayfeminism.com, which I'm going to read now. It's by James St. James. But I'm only going to read the points. If you want to read the article in its entirety, it'll be linked down below. 7 harmful ways parents often wield adultism against their kids, by James St. James. 1. Children solely existing to accessorize an adult. 2. Being flaunted as status symbols. 3. Children being raised as a mini-me. 4. Thinking your children owe you because you provided them basics of life. 5. Excusing parental abuse since it's from parents. 6. Regarding rules as a form of parental power. And 7. Viewing children as having fewer rights than adults. I especially want to talk about number 4 because I think that's the stem for all the problems. Many parents believe that because they provide the necessities to live, their children owe them, aka my house, my rules. This also connects to number 7 because parents think that their children have less rights than them because they depend on them. In a viral Tumblr post, Children of Abuse came out and said it best. If you take away your child's privacy and rights, they will then have lifelong problems because of you. They are more likely to engage in the bad behaviors that you think they're doing, like drugs and sex, and they may end up in abusive relationships where they can't escape from. They've grown so paranoid and anxious because of the household they grew up in. In all, stop wielding your adultism against your children. I bought you that computer and I can take it away too. Fuck you. You don't do decent things for your children in order to make them pay for it later or to manipulate them into submission. You do it because you decided to take a child under your wing. Food, clothes, shelter, kindness aren't privileges you can use to emotionally threaten someone in your care. Children and teens deserve privacy, love, and respect, not abuse because you're too arrogant and insecure to seek help. Abuse in minority communities is also normalized. It's not seen as abuse, but rather strict parenting. In some Asian American communities, abuse by parents is layered because of the different parent and child dynamic that exists between them that's different than their white peers. Asian American children that act out are given different punishments such as kneeling on beans or rice, or holding your hands up for an extended period of time, or sometimes eating something bitter or disgusting, similar to how in the US parents used to make their children suck on soap. In African American communities, the belt is the signature punishment as seen in A Black Lady sketch show and Everybody Hates Chris. Though these situations are played for comedy, it at least opens up the dialogue about the abuse African Americans have faced. In addition, comedy is sometimes used as a coping mechanism in order to be able to talk about difficult topics. Minority communities are finally opening up about the abuse they faced as children and how that differs from their white peers. Some people of color still see white people as soft for calling their abuse abuse. However, this is just another coping mechanism. It's important to note that beating your child or threatening to beat your child is abuse across all backgrounds. And you're not better than someone for saying that you survived it, and you're not weaker for saying that it hurt. Now I want to talk about kids and consent and how this plays into number 7, which is that adults have more rights than their kids. Kids have the same rights. They don't need to hug their relatives if they don't want to. They can say no. They don't have to kiss you every time you ask them to either. Kids need to be taught consent in order to take ownership over their bodies. All too often, kids are forced to spend time with adults or other kids that they don't feel comfortable around because they're not taught consent. And if they don't know consent, they'll never feel comfortable with talking to you about something that might have happened to them. Let your kids say no, and know that them saying no doesn't always mean that something bad happened, but rather that they just don't feel like it right now. Not all adults are comfortable with hugging all the time, and that means kids are the same way. Not to mention that teaching kids consent will also help them understand other kids and teach them not to overstep their boundaries. So in all, the abuse you faced as a kid wasn't warranted. And even though they're your parent, that doesn't mean that they're also not toxic. Teach your kids consent and let them know that it's okay to say no. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.